are agreeing that you basically said that Putin was justified in rolling over the peaceful border of Ukraine, the first time since World War II that a free nation had been invaded by a totalitarian state. And you were there at 11:30 p.m. that night to say that you were with them, not us. And let me tell you something. You say you don't know because you don't read Russian propaganda. Russian state TV then aired your comments. Did you know?
Of all of the confirmation hearings in the Senate of Donald Trump's nominations, I think that moment right there was perhaps the most powerful. Democratic Senator Michael Bennett cross-examining Tulsi Gabbard, who Donald Trump wants to be the director of national intelligence. I want to show you the full exchange, and I think that Democratic Senator Bennett here probably cross-examined Gabbard just about as good, if not better, than any of the cross-exams I've seen, not just in these confirmation hearings, but as my time as a litigator when we used to cross-examine people. So watch what went down here. This is an incredible cross-exam. Let's play it.
Moment that Russian tanks were rolling across the peaceful border of Ukraine for the first time, you tweeted at 11:30 p.m. your time, this war and suffering could have easily been avoided if Biden administration / NATO had simply acknowledged Russia's legitimate security concerns regarding Ukraine's becoming a member of NATO. Did you say that, yes or no?
I believe you're reading my tweet, Senator.
Yes is the answer. A few months later, you said on your podcast, and I quoted it, quote, but this regime change war against Russia that the U.S. and NATO are waging via their proxy in Ukraine didn't begin when Putin invaded Ukraine. They had their eyes set on this objective long before that. Did you say that, yes or no?
I believe you're reading my tweet.
Thank
There's
you.
a lot
the answer
more.
Is yes.
You're quoting a podcast that provided much more
context. I'm happy to have a
context.
conversation with the chairman about whether I'm taking anything out of context. I don't think I am. And your answer is yes. Are you aware that your comments about proxy wars and Russia's legitimate security concerns, to quote your own words, are in alignment with what the Russians have said to justify their invasion of Ukraine? Yes or no?
Senator, I don't pay attention to Russian propaganda.
So
My goal is to speak the truth,
the answer is
regardless of whether you like it or not.
I'll take it. That's fine. You said you are used to speaking truth to power.
Yes.
I'm shocked to hear you now say that, you are agreeing. I'm not shocked because I know you said it. You are agreeing that you basically said that Putin was justified in rolling over the peaceful border of Ukraine, the first time since World War II that a free nation had been invaded by a totalitarian state. And you were there at 11:30 p.m. that night to say that you were with them, not us. And let me tell you something. You say you don't know because you don't read Russian propaganda. Russian state TV then aired your comments. Did you know that?
Senator, I think you should also quote the statement that I made criticizing Putin for his invasion of Ukraine.
What I would say, Mr. Chairman, with the last, it's up to all of us. We're the Senate. We get to decide whether we're going to confirm this nominee. Obviously, we didn't select this nominee. But can't we do better than somebody who doesn't believe in 702? Can't we believe that somebody who can't answer whether Snowden was a traitor 5 times today, who made excuses for Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine, the first time that I'm aware of any American official has done that? I'm questioning her judgment. That's the issue that's at stake here. And as you said, and I totally agree, this is about our intelligence officers. And you cannot answer. Most of what we do here is in secret. This is one of the very few opportunities that you will ever have to have a conversation with this panel in public. And the record is going to be very clear about the position you took with regard to Edward Snowden. And the record is going to be very clear about your reaffirmation of the statements you made in the middle of the night when Russia was invading the free country of Ukraine. And I hope we will take that in consideration when we have this vote.
Your time has expired.
There was this other moment right here as well where Tulsi Gabbard then refuses to say that Edward Snowden was a traitor. Watch this moment. Let's play it.
Was Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America?
Senator, I will also repeat my answer. He broke the law.
You said earlier that you were offended by a question that my colleague from Kansas asked, which I think was his duty as somebody on this committee to fulfill his responsibility to advise and consent. We are not here to be a rubber stamp for the President of the United States. So let me ask you again, do you believe, as the chairman of this committee believes, as the vast majority of members of our intelligence agencies believe, that Edward Snowden was a traitor to the United States of America?
Senator, if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, I will work with you to make sure that there is not another Snowden-like leak.
Media. It's not a moment to propagate theories, conspiracy theories, or attacks on journalism in the United States. This is when you need to answer the questions of the people whose votes you're asking for to be confirmed as the chief intelligence officer of this nation. As my colleague said, this is not about you. It's about the people that serve the intelligence agencies of the United States. Is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America? That is not a hard question to answer when the stakes are this high.
Senator, as someone who has served in
yes or no, is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America?
As someone who has worn our uniform in combat, I understand how.
Yeah, this hearing was actually full of fireworks. And I think this hearing, more than any of the others, you started to see at least a little bit because we were dealing with the Senate Intelligence Committee, where most of their work is done in private, and we're dealing with the most sensitive national secrets, some of the most powerful stuff. And you started to get a little bit of bipartisan cooperation here. Not fully, but I'll show you in a little bit. But here we have Democratic Senator Wyden. Watch this.
If President Trump orders you to withhold appropriated funds from the Inspector General, will you refuse that illegal order?
I don't believe for a second President Trump would ask me to do something that would break the law.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking if you are asked about an illegal order, what will you do? You can say, oh, it'll never happen. What will you do if you're dealing with an illegal order?
My commitment has been and will be, if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, to comply with the law.
Senator Wyden, you've actually asked two questions already, Senator
I'm not
Wyden.
asking a question.
You've asked two questions. I said there's one question allowed. Are there other?
Here we have Senator King. Let's play it.
And understand how you analyzed the facts leading up to your 2020 bill, providing him with a pardon. There was the House committee report, which granted was redacted, but under the heading, what damage did it cause, were 5.5 pages of redacted material. I would have thought that would raise a question in your mind. Secondly, Edward Snowden, there are about 20 countries that don't have extradition treaties with the U.S. He chose to go to Russia, become a Russian citizen. Given that information, how did you decide to introduce a bill providing him with a pardon? Introducing a bill in the United States Congress is not the same as a tweet or a commentary on a podcast. I'm concerned about your apparent lack of interest in the scope of Edward Snowden's traitorous activities.
Senator, I've answered some version of this question many times in this hearing already. My foremost concern has been, remains, and will continue to be in upholding my oath to the Constitution to support and defend Americans' Fourth Amendment constitutional rights. If confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, I'm committed to ensuring that we protect our nation's secrets by implementing a number of actions I've outlined so that those who have concerns about programs within our intelligence community, that we don't have another Snowden-like leak, and they are able to raise those concerns either directly with Congress or through any one of a number of legal paths that are available. And I think it's also important, and in line with many of the bipartisan concerns I've heard from this committee, in security classification, security clearance and classification reform, in narrowing severely those who have access to the most sensitive and compartmentalized intelligence reporting and capabilities.
Senator Bennett.
Next, we have Senator Mark Warner from Virginia, Democrat. Play it.
And these are your quotes. Brave, please join my bipartisan legislation calling for charges to be dropped against him. Do you disagree that legislation was not appropriate? Do you believe he is brave or not?
Yeah,
Back those words.
once again, Senator, Edward Snowden broke the law. He
Gabbard,
also
I'm not
released
talking-
information
we agree that Edward Snowden
that
broke the
exposed
law.
the United States
Asking you a question
government's
whether
illegal
your
programs.
legislation and your words are still your beliefs. Yes or no, please.
I'm making myself very clear. Edward
Ma'am.
Snowden broke the law. He released information about the United
All right,
States
ma'am,
government's
I've got other issues to
illegal
raise.
activities.
Ma'am, I
If I may just finish my thoughts, Senator. In this role that I've been nominated for, if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, I will be responsible for protecting our nation's secrets. And I have 4 immediate steps
ask for
that I
additional
would
time.
take to
Chairman.
prevent another Snowden-like leak.
Ma'am, I would simply ask you again. I don't think you're going to answer. I agree with Tom Cotton. He's a traitor. You, for years, until you got chosen by President Trump, have celebrated this guy as brave. You've called for him to be pardoned, for his charges to be dropped. I cannot imagine a director of national intelligence that would say that kind of behavior is okay. How would we maintain the trust of the IC and the contractors who work for it? How would we maintain the trust of our Five Eye partners? I find it.
And here we had Republican Senator James Lankford, and he thought he was giving her a softball question here about Snowden, but she refused to call Snowden a traitor. Watch this.
Was Edward Snowden a traitor?
Senator, my heart is with my commitment to our Constitution and our nation's security.
Ours too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have shown throughout my almost 22 years of service in the military, as well as my time in Congress, how seriously I take the privilege of having access to classified information and our nation's secrets. And that's why I'm committed, if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, to join you in making sure that there is no future Snowden-type leak. And I would do so by taking 4 specific actions. Number 1, again, to make sure that there are no illegal and unconstitutional programs, limiting in a big way those who have access to our nation's top secrets through security clearance reform, making sure that every single person in the workforce knows about the legal whistleblower channels available to them, and making sure that there's a direct line available to me should anyone have concerns. If people choose to step outside of those legal channels to raise any concerns about programs or actions that exist within the intelligence community that are classified, there will be no excuse to do so, and they should be charged and prosecuted under the law.
Was he a traitor at the time when he took America's secrets, released them in public, and then ran to China and became a Russian citizen?
Senator, I'm focused on the future and how we can prevent something like this from happening again.
Let me show you this one other clip right here of Senator Angus King. Let's play it.
You introduced a bill in 2020 that was essentially a pardon. It basically said all charges should be dropped. You had a lot of whereases in that bill. Where did the factual basis for those whereas clauses come from?
Senator, if I recall, in that bill, it came from publicly available information.
I see. And were you aware that there was a bipartisan committee report from the House Intelligence Committee in 2016 on Snowden's activities?
I don't recall specifically at that time, but I am aware of that committee's report and executive summary that was reported publicly. I did not have access to the classified report that summary was based on.
Did you read that report prior to filing your bill in 2020?
Senator, I don't recall specifically. I remember reading a lot of materials prior to filing that bill.
And folks, even Edward Snowden was trying to encourage Tulsi Gabbard to basically condemn him so Russia could have an ally in the intelligence community, or the leader of the intelligence community in Tulsi Gabbard. Russia also gave her their full support. And Russia TV previously called Tulsi Gabbard their girl. They said, she's our girl. And they called Hegseth their guy and Kash Patel their guy. Worth noting as well right here, though, even with all of that I just showed you, Senator John Cornyn of Texas, this is what he goes. He said that he will be consenting to Tulsi Gabbard. This is what Republican Senator John Cornyn of Texas says. As director, he goes, because Donald Trump won and he gets to pick whoever he wants, absent extraordinary circumstances. Well, folks, I'll let you judge if what I shared with you in this video, whether that was extraordinary circumstances, but that's not the standard, Cornyn. You are a co-equal branch. If you believe someone is going to cause harm to the country, if you believe someone does not have the qualifications or the experience, you are co-equal to Donald Trump. Somehow these MAGA Republicans, not somehow, they are just totally okay with dictatorship. It's a wild concept. You're equal, co-equal. The Senate's co-equal. But you don't see it that way. They don't see it that way. It's wild. But anyway, I want to give a hat tip right there, though, to Democratic Senator Michael Bennett for that great cross-exam right there. And I thought it was important that I share that with you. Hit subscribe. We're growing. Let's get to 4 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.